About how this works. Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this meeting called by the Korean Friendship Association of the UK and the British Group for the Study of the Juche idea. We've got packed agenda this afternoon. I'm going to give a report on my visit to People's Korea. That was earlier this year. And I'll also give a very brief report about my visit to Germany at the invitation of KFA Germany. And then Comrade Alan Bollen, who is KFA UK Organisation Secretary and also head of KFA West of England, and editor of People's Korea Today, is going to give his lecture, Juche idea, as a perfect and great builder of socialist society in the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. And we plan to give this lecture for a very, very long time. We were going to do it in February, but there was a national Palestine demonstration. So we decided to go to the demonstration instead of holding the lecture. But, finally, we're going to have the lecture. But I'm going to sort of report back from the DPRK where the Juche idea is realised in practice. And I think the lecture will be a very useful complement to what I'm saying. And I'm just saying, I hope everyone can hear me. Good afternoon from London to everybody who's listening on the live stream. I think we got quite a few people there on the live stream. I think I can see at least, I think about 10. So, good afternoon. Hope you can hear. We joined also, people can't see them, they're off camera. By the General Secretary of the New Communist Party. And, I'll make sure I finally get this right. The General Secretary of the Revolutionary Communist Party of Britain, Marxist-Leninist. Right, great. Finally got the title right after about 10 or 15 years, but never mind. Okay, well, I'm going to talk now about my visit to People's Korea, and decided to speak without notes to try and make it a bit less formal and perhaps a bit more interesting. Rather than sort of reading from a text, because given several reports already, including one to KFA Germany. So, I'm going to speak without notes. And this was my 19th visit to the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, or People's Korea, or Juche Korea, or Socialist Korea. The first time I ever went to the DPRK was in May 1992. And, I can, give some more detail, in the speech. But, there's been massive changes in the DPRK over those decades. And also very big changes since I was last there in October 2019. My last visit to the DPRK was in October 2019, where I headed a delegation of 2 other people. And we visited the DPRK for about, I think, 10 days in October 2019. Traveling via Beijing, and we went not just Pyongyang, but also to Mount Moyhang and to Kaesong and Panmunjom. I had thought that I would be sort of going back to the DPRK probably in 2020 or for the 75th anniversary of the foundation of the Workers' Party of Korea, or the 75th anniversary of the foundation of the DPRK in 2023. However, when the global pandemic hit the world in early 2020, the DPRK shut its borders. In fact, it was one of the first ever countries in the world to close its borders, and it kept its borders closed for 4 years. And I think that fact is significant because it is testimony to the strength of the DPRK's socialist system and to the vitality of self-reliance. Because as I've said many times, there's many countries in the world that if they closed their border, they would be lucky to survive beyond a few days or even hours. And British people remember, when we finally declared independence and left the European Union, it was what was known as a hard Brexit. And there was some panic that supplies would run out or there would be trouble because of this. But People's Korea was able to shut the border for 4 years. And indeed, I think this also proves it is a myth that the DPRK is somehow dependent on other countries, that it's in some way beholden to other countries. This is simply not true. Otherwise, the DPRK would have collapsed and gone under, with its border closed. So this year, the DPRK has been step by step opening the border, and by different stages. In February, a large group of tourists from the Russian Federation visited the DPRK for skiing, and I believe they were in Pyongyang. And then suddenly, at the end of February, I got an email from the DPRK embassy in London saying that I was invited to the DPRK by the Korean Association of Social Scientists for an international seminar on the Juche idea, on the theme of independence, justice, and the future of humanity in Pyongyang in April. So I got myself an Air China ticket, and also got my DPRK visa from the embassy. And Mr. Kim at the embassy told me that I was the first British person for 5 years to receive a DPRK visa, which made me feel very honoured indeed and flattered that I was the first DPRK citizen, first British citizen to go to the DPRK for so long. And I was also told that they had not yet issued visas to the FCDO, Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, to go to Pyongyang to reopen the embassy, because the British embassy in Pyongyang still has not been reopened. I would stress the point here that it was not the there's misinformation spread that the DPRK threw out the British embassy. Not true. The British embassy, along with a number of other embassies from Western imperialist countries, called out themselves from the DPRK. Other countries like Russia, like China, like Cuba, and a few others stayed in the DPRK. They didn't find the border closure a problem for them, but some Western embassies couldn't buy expensive whiskey, imported whiskey, or couldn't buy Cadbury's chocolate and things like this. So, that was a big problem for these people. So they ran away and closed the embassies. But I believe, slowly, one by one, some of the embassies are returning. Anyway, I got my visa before the FCO did, which again made me feel very flattered. So I travelled I left London on the 9th of April, travelling via Beijing, where I had a stopover for one day in Beijing. Stayed at a hotel near the airport. The Chinese had demolished the old hotel and built another one in its place, bigger and more upgraded. But unfortunately, of course, they doubled the prices. Good old China, eh? Doubling the prices. And I left for Pyongyang on the 11th of April, traveling on Air Koryo, DPRK's national airline. It was quite great a great atmosphere at the Air Koryo check-in desk at Beijing Airport. There were many old friends of mine travelling to the DPRK, big delegation from KFA Switzerland, led by Martin Loscher, and also friends from Poland, Brazil, a number of other countries. And what is very significant is that some countries had more than one delegation. For example, Brazil had two delegations, and I think Russia had at least two delegations, maybe three delegations from Russia were there, but everybody assembled at Beijing airports. When I got to the departure lounge, there were more old friends of mine there. And we boarded the Air Koryo flight to Pyongyang. My first time to be on an Air Koryo flight for about 5 years. It felt great. So we got a copy of the Pyongyang Times, and they showed a video about the capture of the USS Pudlo, the US spy ship, back in 1968. And I think this shows that the DPRK is adhering firmly to an anti-imperialist, anti-US line. And I think it's also significant that at Beijing Airport we could see a KFC, McDonald's and Starbucks, but when we got to Pyongyang, we didn't see anything like McDonald's, KFC, or Starbucks anywhere in the DPRK. This proves that the DPRK is a true socialist country. And I remember back in 2018, when there were different summits between the DPRK and Trump, and with the South Korean puppets, sections of the media, people like NK News, carried the misinformation that the DPRK was going to sell out, that it was going to open up McDonald's and the KFC soon. this has never happened. It wasn't true. There is no McDonald's anywhere in Pyongyang, and I think this is something that the DPRK can be truly proud of. Yeah, my apologies to people on the live stream. We're getting interrupted because people haven't been, people are still arriving for the meeting. We were told, we did tell people to come at 2 o'clock. And I'd also point out people on the live stream at the moment, can't see your questions, but I will quickly check the questions, when I finish speaking. I'll try and answer about 2 or 3 from the live stream, because people in the audience here who you can't see will also want to ask questions. But I'll just break for a minute while people are let into the room. Right. Well, welcome to the meeting. Welcome to the meeting. Thank you for coming. Let's resume now. Apologies to folks on the live stream. But anyway, yes, to continue. I arrived in Pyongyang on the 11th of April via, traveling on Air Koryo. I was sort of met at the airport by my guide from the Korean Association of Social Scientists, a Mr. Oh Soo-jin. And really nothing at the airport, not very little had changed. There were anti-COVID measures in place. Our suitcases were scanned for COVID. And we were also given a sort of quick scan ourselves. But everything seemed calm, normal, beautiful weather. And there was a big TV screen in the car park of the airport showing some sort of revolutionary music performances. And we were put on coaches to go to the centre of Pyongyang, where we were going to be put in the Koryo hotel. It was on the way to the hotel. It became apparent that there'd been massive changes in Pyongyang, because I'm someone, been to the DPRK 19 times, so I don't wish to exaggerate, but I could almost say I know the route from Pyongyang Airport to the Koryo Hotel like the back of my hand. It's a route that I'm very familiar with. However, first of all, I noticed some very tall buildings under construction loom up in the distance. Those had not been there before. And then the coach veered off to the left instead of going straight on. This was because the route to the airport was actually blocked by a massive construction site, but the detour took us through the new Hwasong Street, which is an incredible creation. In fact, street is not the right word for it. It's like a whole district. It's the size of a London borough, basically, or a small town. It's truly massive. and the buildings looked beautifully new and clean. Looked like very, it cost a lot of money to build. All sorts of fascinating designs. Two flats are shaped like intercontinental ballistic missiles, which I believe symbolises the DPRK's devotion to national defence and safeguarding sovereignty of the DPRK. And this was very impressive to see. And we returned to Hwasong Street several times during the visit. On the afternoon of Saturday, 13th of April, we were taken on as a coach tour of Hwasong Street. And then on the night before we left, we went to see Hwasong Street lit up at night. And of course, one persistent lie of the mainstream media, of the imperialists, of the elite, is that the DPRK has no electricity. That's, you hear all these things. Oh, there's no electricity. Everybody's starving. Everybody's in a concentration camp. You hear all these things repeated over and over again by the mass media, but absolutely none of it is true. I've been there, seen it with my own eyes. It's not true. And Hwasong Street was lit up at night, and indeed, I think the streetlights in Pyongyang are actually more powerful than the ones in London. I've noticed over the years that the street lights in London have grown dimmer and dimmer. Maybe it's a so-called green measure or something like that. But we saw Hwasong Street several times. Indeed, on our way back to the airport on the last day, we also saw Hwasong Street. It's truly a great creation. Why we were there, the second stage of Hwasong Street opened, and it was at this ceremony that the wonderful song "Friendly Father" made its debut, because there was a wonderful party and ceremony to open Hwasong Street that I saw from the TV screen in the hotel bar. So this was quite impressive, and it's not just Hwasong Street, because, like I mentioned, another new district was under construction in Sopo district. That was commissioned about 10 days ago. There's the new street called Youth Street, and all over Pyongyang there was construction work going on, and I stayed on the 24th floor of the Koryo Hotel, and I could look out the window, and opposite the hotel there was a big block of flats under construction, and that was the same height of the hotel, which is actually a very tall hotel. It's 44 stories, so that give you some idea. I could look out and see in the distance many blocks of flats under construction. And I can say in 19 visits, I've never seen this amount of construction going on in DPRK. That is literally true. And the face of the DPRK has changed not once but several times since my first visit in 1992. This is a fact. There's so many things in Pyongyang that weren't there in the 90s, and so many things that weren't even there in 2019 or 2017. It's really going ahead at a massive, at a very fast speed. There's no doubt about it. And I think there's a lot of cynical people around, particularly in countries like Britain, and you know, you'll get different reactions to this. Some will just refuse to believe it, but others will be perhaps dismissive and say, well, other countries have done this and, it's not so remarkable. But yeah, it is remarkable, doubly and trebly remarkable, because the DPRK is not doing this under perfect ideal conditions. It's not a big country. It's also a country that has to devote a lot of national income to defence as well. But it's also carrying out this construction work in the face of massive sanctions by the UN Security Council, by the US, by the UK. The UK's got many sanctions against the DPRK, by the EU, which some dafties think is a socialist institution. It's not. EU is, is imperialist, is capitalist. It's no friend of socialism at all. And also countries like Australia, Japan. Don't forget that Japan is an old enemy of the DPRK. It will do anything to put the knife into the DPRK. The Japanese imperialists have never forgiven the DPRK for defeating them and becoming independent. This is something the Japanese imperialists really hate to a great extent. So all this has been achieved in the face of sanctions, in the face of military pressure from the US and South Korea and other states, like Britain, like Australia, like France, Germany, and so on, which have actually sent warships to Korean waters. It's been achieved against very great odds. And, I think this is actually due to the great Juche idea and to self-reliance and the independent national economy. And because later in his in-depth lecture, Comrade Allen is going to explain about the Juche idea in detail. So, I mean, it was incredible to go around Pyongyang again. We went to all sorts of different places, like the Juche Idea Tower, like the Pyongyang Metro, the circus, the Moranbong Theatre, which was my first ever visit there, to see the National Symphony Orchestra. And we also went to the Korean Stamp Museum. But I think one significant visit I'm going to mention here, because otherwise I will overrun time. But I think a very significant visit was to the brand new Kangdong greenhouse vegetable farm, which is actually outside of Pyongyang. It's about 34 kilometers from Pyongyang. A massive complex, got 8 different greenhouses, employs 1,800 workers, and it's quite big, and some of the greenhouses look like something out of science fiction. And the aim of the greenhouse farm is to supply fresh vegetables to Pyongyang citizens all year round. We were able to do some cucumbers that had just been grown, and there's all sorts of vegetables like cucumber, lettuce, tomato, bok choy, which is something I don't I don't personally know, but it was quite impressive. And what is significant about this, that this was built on the site of the old Miram Air Base, a KPA Air Force Air Base. And this also shows that it is a big lie told by the imperialists that the DPRK is diverting resources away from civilians to the military. This is not true. In fact, in this case, they've actually done the opposite. They've actually turned a sort of something which had military use over to civilian use. So this is another lie of the filthy, dirty, rotten imperialists. So that's one thing that is, I think, very significant. But I decided to ask a few questions about the farm, and first of all, the workers to the farm actually live in flats behind the farm. Those flats have been given to the workers absolutely free of charge. The guide emphasised this, and of course, this would never happen in any capitalist country. But I've learned that this was actually a state farm. A state farm, not a cooperative farm. It's not a cooperative. It's a state farm where there aren't farmers. There's farm workers who are direct employees of the state. It's all people ownership, and this was a very interesting and significant point. I mean, we were also told that the plan of the DPRK is to build one such greenhouse farm in each single province of the DPRK to supply vegetables. So basically, state-owned farms will be supplying vegetables to citizens rather than cooperative farms. Some people might say, "Oh, what's the difference? What does it matter?" Well, I mean, it is very significant. First of all, because certain elements have tried, I don't mean anyone here. I mean the likes of NK News and the venal Andrei Lenkov have tried to say that the DPRK was introducing a market economy and that there was reforms and opening up. And, and of course, some people on the ultra left also, they believe this and sort of repeat this kind of propaganda. But, the fact that it was a state farm, not a cooperative farm, proves that this is not true. And in fact, the DPRK has a planned economy and a socially owned economy. My impression is that the DPRK will reach the higher stage of socialism and communism before anyone else, and it is also a fact that the DPRK have reinstated the mention of communism in many of the speeches of Supreme Leader Marshal Kim Jong-un. And also recently, it didn't happen while I was there, but recently a new party cadre training school has been opened. And not only were there the portraits of President Kim Il-sung, Chairman Kim Jong-il, and respected Marshal Kim Jong-un, but there was also the portraits of Marx and Lenin, proving that it's also a myth that the DPRK has, quote unquote, abandoned Marxism, Leninism, which we sometimes hear on Twitter and Facebook and elsewhere. These things are not true. But anyway, getting back to the visit to the farm, it was very impressive. And we were told that fresh vegetables had been supplied free of charge to Pyongyang citizens a few days before we arrived. So, I mean, I went away from the farm very impressed. I spoke to a Slovak friend of mine at the farm, and he said he felt very happy and confident about the DPRK, that he had been worried a bit before visiting the DPRK that they might be introducing reform and opening up, but he said he could see no sign of it, and significantly no sign of Western lifestyles. These kind of Western lifestyles are totally toxic, and once they infiltrate, they end up destroying socialism from within. That is my view. As I say, people can take it or leave it. That's my opinion. It was quite good to see the farm, and also to be out of Pyongyang in the countryside. Generally, looking around Pyongyang, the shops seemed fairly well stocked. Couldn't see any very glaring signs of the sanctions or the aftermath of the global pandemic. Most things seem to be there. And also, as far as I could tell, the prices in the shops were on the hotel shop were exactly the same as in October 2019. In fact, one or two appeared to have gone down slightly, but this might have been due to currency conversion issues, with fluctuations in currency. But I've heard this was again a manifestation of the stability of the DPRK in the face of immense difficulties and challenges. That you couldn't. Everything seemed to be pretty much the same in as before, and also just a bit of humour here. Some people might remember a few years ago, NK News ran the story of the I think, was it the $250 banana, or was it $300 banana in the DPRK? I can't remember the exact figure, but whatever figure it was, such a thing was nowhere to be seen. And my guide explained, in fact, citizens of the DPRK are supplied with a certain amount of goods at no cost by the state. So anyway, and yeah, we were able to also see the excellent facilities for children at the Mangyongdae School Children's Palace, which is one of two children's palaces in Pyongyang. We saw children being able to do all sorts of things, like learn ballet and dancing, learn to play piano, learn to play on the kaegum, which is the DPRK's national instrument. And we were treated to a lovely performance by the school children at the end in their theatre. And they say the School Children's Palace is truly a palace. It's got marble floors, and it's even got a scale model of a DPRK space rocket in it. It's a really great place, and it's located in the south of Pyongyang. So that showed that the attention that DPRK pays to its children. Indeed, President Kim Il-sung said that the child is the king of the country. And just giving you a few impressions of Pyongyang. I did go for a wander around with my guide. There was no litter on the streets, no vandalism, no graffiti, no homeless people, no beggars, no prostitutes, no drug dealers or degenerates. It was all very good. Quite a contrast to London. And you will not see pornography on sale anywhere in the DPRK or sort of anything to encourage people to indulge in vices or degenerate behaviour. It's a very moral society, very, very strong. And, all these achievements are based on the Juche idea that was authored by President Kim Il-sung. So we were able to visit the excellent Juche Tower on the banks of the river Taedong. And then we were able to also participate in the international seminar on the Juche idea on the theme of independence, justice, and the future of humanity. And there was a total of 28 countries represented there. I'm probably going to manage to forget a few when I reel the list, but I'll just try to give you some idea. From Europe, the following countries were represented: UK, Germany, Poland, Austria, Italy, Switzerland, Bulgaria, Hungary, Belarus, and Russia. Like I say, Russia had several delegations. There was a big Mexican delegation there. And like I said earlier, Brazil had two delegations. My old friend Lucas Rubio heading the delegation from the Centre for the Study of Songhai Politics of Brazil, and also delegation from the Juche Study Centre of Brazil. And of course, there were delegations from many Asian countries, and also a number of African countries were represented. And I think this proves, again, it's a big myth and a cliche that the DPRK is isolated. It is not. And it's also not true that the DPRK doesn't have support outside the country. It does indeed have support outside the country. Anyway, there were 10 speeches given at the international seminar. I gave a speech. I was quite, again, felt very honoured to do so because quite a lot of people who wanted to speak could not speak. So this was quite an honour, and my speech was well received. So, all in all, it was a great visit. It was great to be back in people's career after a space of 5 years. And, as we, it's always said, seeing once is worth, saying 1,000 times. People should visit the DPRK. Hopefully there'll be more opportunities later in this year, and almost certainly 100% next year, because there will be keynote celebrations in the DPRK for the 80th anniversary of liberation and 80th anniversary of the foundation of the Workers' Party. So, there'll be chances for visits, and we need more report back meetings like this with more people at them. Thank you for listening. I'm first going to, while I just rest my voice for 1 or 2 minutes, I would ask for, first of all, questions from the audience who are here in the room, and then I will nip over and look at the chat and take a few questions from from the live chat. So people here would like to go ahead and ask a few questions. Yes, go ahead, please.
How long does DPRK have their own farmers, since they closed for such a very long time? So from where they took food for the citizens?
Well, I mean, they produce the food themselves from their own farms. I mean, that's the answer. It came from domestic sources. Right. Do we have another question from the audience?
Is that a good answer? Explain or do you want some more details?
I will definitely ask later about more details.
Bit more? Okay. Can you explain it more? Cooperative farms, state farms.
Yeah, the actual organisation of agriculture. Well, DPRK agriculture has two forms of ownership. There's cooperative farms, which means it is a group of farmers, pooling resources, pooling the land, and there are state farms. And at the moment, cooperative farms tend to be predominant, but there's plans for to expand the state sector in agriculture, and the new greenhouse farms are part of that. So I mean that's how DPRK agriculture works. Yes, Andy.
Yeah, I think perhaps at a later meeting you want to go into a bit more depth on this. The state farm is because the land was from the airports. It always was state land. I don't think any percentage of crop. This is a new development.
Yeah, but I mean, there's always been
some, but they were from like they were in the Soviet Union. But in the Soviet Union, yes, ultimately the aim was.
Yeah, I mean, DPRK wants to convert all farms into state
farms. That's what I say.
That was
it's a slow process.
Yeah, that was put forward by President Kim Il Sung in 1964 in February.
Perhaps at a later date, or you could write an article going into some more detail about it, because it's not, in my opinion, not widely understood that the cooperative farm is a form of private enterprise. It is. No. Collective isn't. Yes, but which in Korea they call all of them cooperative farms.
Yeah, but they're really collective farms. It's just
three forms of ownership: cooperative, state, and private. Private doesn't mean.
Yeah, so there's no cooperatives at all left in the DPRK.
They're all collective. They're all like collective.
Perhaps, as I say, you should write an article based on more information to deal with this, because it's relevant to all.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have any more questions from the actual physical audience here? Yes, Marie.
Yes. I've got loads of questions. I'm going to try to reduce the number. So, following from what you said, I take it that the land is state-owned. You will correct me afterwards, yeah? So is the land state-owned or is it municipalized? You can tell me afterwards. I've got another few questions. Now, the vegetables that were growing in the, I think it was called Kangdong.
Kangdong, yes.
Kangdong. So it's very large. It's a state farm. And the vegetables are free to the population. So my question is, in the shops where there are prices, what is free and what is having a price?
Right.
Now, hang on, I've got another question, and then you can answer them all, or perhaps wait till later. I see that Russia was in the big meeting in the Juche Tower, in the tower.
Well, in the seminar, yeah, they were in the seminar. Two Russian delegations.
So Russia was there. This is very important. Was China? This is another question for later. And then I would like to make a comment. Can I make a comment?
Well, you can.
Or is there time later on to?
Maybe later at the end of the meeting you can make a comment.
Not at the end. Then I'll make it now because I think it's important. When Putin and Xi met, the Chinese actually referred to the bombing by the United States, by NATO, the NATO bombing in Yugoslavia when he visited Bucharest in Serbia, and then he went to Budapest. I think these things are no longer collaboration on the economic level, but on the political and anti-NATO level. And this is supremely important for Korea to see such a force developing, which is now worldwide, because Russia and China are the majority of the world, and giving strength and courage to the process that you have described. Even if it's not done, deliberately, it is empirically, this is what's happening.
Right, well, thank you. I'll try to answer the first question. Yeah, I mean, some of the land in the DPRK is state-owned, but a lot of it is in the hands of the cooperative farms, because the DPRK carried out land reform in 1946, giving the land to the peasants, but they didn't actually nationalise land, except that was owned by monasteries and religious institutions and one or two other institutions. So, I mean, you've got both some state-owned land and some that is the property of the collective farms. And your second question was, could you repeat that?
The other one was the prices
about the food. Well,
yeah.
The DPRK actually uses a sort of direct distribution system, where basically a package of groceries or basket of groceries is supplied to each household, and it's not actually sold. However, there are what they use the term internally in the DPRK as direct sales shops, where people can also buy things. But the low cost goods, they're actually directly supplied, and it's like, if you work at a factory, your clothes will be directly supplied at the workshop, so at the workplace. So that's how it works. Okay, right.
The other thing was China there?
Oh, sorry. No, China wasn't there. China does not study the Juche idea. So there was no Chinese delegation in the seminar. I think there was a big delegation of Chinese artists visiting the DPRK for a cultural performance, but that was not part of the program we were on. Something different. But yeah, I mean, in Russia there are many people who study the Juche idea, and I actually spoke to a senior Russian professor, very famous Russian expert on the DPRK, who was there. I think Alexander, if I pronounced the name right, Vorontsov. He's a very important figure in Russian academia, and he was actually there, and I actually spoke to him. But yeah, there was no Chinese present at the Juche idea seminar.
Were the Russian communists already from the government?
I don't know exactly. Some were communists. I mean, some of the people, I've known a long time. They are, Russia. They are actually communists.
What did you say in your speech?
Sorry,
What did you say in your speech? You spoke, you said, at the seminar.
on my speech. That is available online. I just spoke about the DPRK's commitment to anti-imperialism and independence under different DPRK leaders.
I think it's been published in the last.
Yeah, it's being published.
All
Yeah,
the speeches published.
yeah, and online
The
as
May
well.
edition, the last edition.
Right. So, I mean, if nobody,
One minor one, just to clarify for the report, the workers on the state farms are on wages,
yeah, that's
not on
right.
work points.
That's right. They're
Yeah.
on wages. Yeah.
That's right. It's a thing when you do the article, you need to explain the difference, because that's a significant one. And the wages are presumably the same system that applies in the factories as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, thank you, Andy. Okay. Well, I bet. Oh, Michael. Yeah.
Can I?
Yeah.
It's a question that you may think is relevant or not relevant. First of all, thanks for the presentation, because it gives a very vivid picture of how vibrant and human-centered the DPRK still is, despite, as you say, all the disinformation that's promoted. You used at one point the phrase national income for the DPRK. I just wanted to know, is that a concept that DPRK itself uses, and one can see, like the concept of socialist accumulation, etc.
Yeah, I mean, they do use the term national income, and also, but I've also seen the term GDP used. But I think they approximate roughly to each other.
Mm-hmm. Okay, there aren't sort of figures.
Yeah. No.
No.
There was Marshal Kim Jong-un recently did give some figures just to show that of the different increases, but no specific figures, because these are an important state secret and have not been published now for many years in the DPRK.
Okay. Anyway, thanks.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah, go one more question, because I want to check the live chat to see, because there might be people who are watching live.
Okay, just one quick one.
Quick.
Do people pay taxes from their wages?
No, taxation in the DPRK was abolished in March 1974. It was abolished, so it's 50 years without taxation. And I wish they'd abolish council tax in Britain, because I really hate paying it.
Not
only me. I think every single British person resents paying council tax. Biggest robbery I've ever known. But anyway, if there's no more questions from people here, I will just go over to take, I think, about 3 questions from the live chat. I'm sorry if anyone gets left out, but we're on a bit of a limited time frame. We will then, I think, just break quickly for 5 minutes for tea and coffee, and then start again. I'll give a quick report of the Germany visit, and then Alan will give his lecture, which I think will take us up to 5 o'clock. But I'm just checking 1 minute while I just check the live chat, because I need to. Well, there's lots of questions.
Just pick the 3 clear questions.
Right. Someone's
Beginning, middle.
right. As mostly it's just people saying good afternoon. I hope people could hear that, what I was saying. Well, get back. Most of the things on the live chat, unfortunately, just people sending greetings. We've got greetings from significantly from KFA Poland. They're watching the video, and also greetings from Croatia I saw, and several people up different parts of the UK. So hello to comrades in Liverpool and Scotland who are watching this. Great you're watching. The only question I've seen, I'm sorry if I've missed them, about the Korean one. No, this time I didn't actually notice the Korean one insert being used. But I mean, for some time, they don't, for foreign visitors, you don't change the currency. You either use euro or RMB or even dollars. But this time, I didn't know. I mean, I think 1 or 2 visits I've been on, some people have actually changed their money into Korean won and gone round the local shops and bought everything in sight, but didn't seem to happen this time. So yeah, I didn't see the Korean one. As I say, I hope people watching live can actually hear what I'm saying. If there's anyone who's watching the video, if you can't hear, please put a comment in the chat. So I'm hoping people can hear me. Okay. We'll have to have a quick break because we can't be long because we've got people that are watching live, so it's unfair to them. So we just have a very quick break. Literally 5 minutes. Back in 5 minutes, and say people on the chat, bear with us. We're just breaking for 5 minutes, and then we're coming back. Okay.
That's all right. Oh, so yeah. It's that's all right.
Oh, great. Just give a quick report about the German business analysis.
Later, we'll have to do something on agriculture.
Yeah.
Not too bad, not too bad. Oh, yeah.
Looks to me, maybe. I've also been
I have seen it previously.
No,
But I don't see the photo, so
I tried to went for you. Now Senegal to Chile, French fishing hold.
That's fine. We got water. Thank you very much. That's great. Hope you enjoyed the lecture.
Beginning to
Thanks to all the food.
change.
it's okay. I'm trying to understand it. That's why I'm so focused on what you're saying.
Okay.
It's very interesting.
which
Yeah.
is actually
Oh,
but not interruption.
okay.
So I still have his name, or long name. And he went to Russia.
Yeah.
Paid the
Yes,
tribute to
okay.
the Soviet Union and
Yeah, there's some biscuits and other food in the kitchen that people have to be quick.
Otherwise, everyone will get it.
Yeah, well,
And that is in my view. That was too much. You already have
No, I'm from Poland.
you already have the team, and that hasn't stopped. Now they are getting support with the French. The French have left.
Yeah.
Well,
And the
the
Americans, the
contribution.
English are still in another ways, because this is francophone. This is francophone. The English are behind. And that is Hebron. This is the same Hebron. That's the
Francis Copy.
Hebron. These are events in which perhaps I don't know how they manage not to be interrupted. This will be so the people, the comrades who did this, they are Jews in Hebron. But they are probably, they're probably Palestinian.
Let's hope for
Is to change our names. We are now the country of the upright men, which is what that means. And it can be applied to others, Russia,
you can take this.
and then all of this is back now. Oh, and this is the Portuguese Revolution. That also we were soldiers. We were all soldiers, you know. In Mali, the bloke is a soldier. In Bosnia, I still is a soldier.
We've got to check because of the election, so I will come back to them on Sunday. Yeah. And
It's been the Portuguese army one morning, the communists. And we are going to change society. Unfortunately, passed to this man, socialist, men about socialism.
Which has one chairman.
Every
year, harvest,
it was so cutting edge, which passed the next in line, which was the socialist, which was quite large. Now you're story every facts from a another
means was every demonstration
actually very elegantly passed the parliament.
as an eclectic. The world's collected. That's before Jack who sets it. Yes.
Next, we need to resume.
No, this is precisely.
I'll take it. Thank you very much.
We should never have this. We were, and then leader was a
Some of them staying as a war.
which
It's just
Sorry.
going
Yeah.
this side. Yeah.
Exactly. That's
So,
what
And they're not really-
Anyway, okay, and everyone,
the state farm is like a factory.
Yes. The paper sheet is wages.
Okay, everyone back to their seats, please. We're reconvening
How much?
the meeting. If you didn't get coffee or anything, there'd be probably a chance at the end to get coffee. Yes, hopefully we should finish a bit before 5 o'clock. And hello again to everybody who's watching live. We're resuming the meeting. Well, once the General Secretary of the new Communist Party, get back into the room, I'll give him a minute or two. Let's say.
See, I'm waiting. I don't think you had this for me.
Thank you very
Thank you very much. I will.
Thank you. Right, and what I'll do is I will give my report back from Germany, which I will shorten because I've given it several times already. And then Alan will give his lecture, which is really the second keynote item. We just need to wait a little bit, but okay. Well, anyway, I might as well start anyway because we've got people watching live. Yeah. After coming back from the DPRK, I didn't stop travelling. Within about 10 days, I went off on another adventure. This time, I visited Germany at the invitation of our friends in KFA Germany. Who kindly invited me and provided me with accommodation, which I was very grateful to. One wonderful place, but also with a comrade from KFA Germany kindly providing transport for us at her own expense. Actually. First time outside of DPRK, I had a driver and also a bodyguard as well. So this was quite different. And I have to say that KFA Germany impressed me quite a lot because I was greeted at Hanover Airport, not just by one or two people, but by a welcoming party of about 5 or 6 people, complete with DPRK flags and flowers. I mean, it was quite something, quite an honour to be received by them in this way. And we had an internal meeting with KFA Germany, and then I did a lengthy live stream and Q&A. As well. We participated in a May Day march in the city of Kassel, which I think is a central German city. I'm not very familiar with German geography, but we're on the May Day march in Kassel with DPRK flags. There was a contingent of 5 of us, and we attended the rally and the march. There was a mixed response, I have to admit. I think some people were very happy to see a DPRK flag, but there was some hostility, quite intense hostility from some elements. Germans are perhaps not always polite and can be, very, very direct. Whereas I think a lot of British people perhaps are more reserved and perhaps less forthcoming in expressing negative opinions, that they just tend to ignore something they don't like rather than trying to confront people. But yeah, I mean, we got some hostility from sort of well, I nearly called them revisionists from Die Linke, but I think Andy would probably correct me and say Die Linke are not revisionists. They are basically a peculiar German variety of social democracy rather than revisionists. But we got hostility from these sort of elements. People with what we call stereotype funny haircuts and funny clothes. We went on the march. I made a speech on the Loudhailer, and so did Comrade Jeremy, who's chairman of KFA Germany, newly elected chairman. And I think again, mixed response. There was a group of elderly, I think, social democrats in front of us said they didn't want to hear it, but a man with a Palestinian flag said he did want to hear it. Showing the difference. So I mean, it was great to be on the May Day march, and we had a tour of the city of Kassel afterwards, and we went to a Holocaust memorial. And we also saw the platform from where victims of the Holocaust were actually deported to a concentration camp from. Next day, we went to the city of Hamburg, where we saw the Ernst Thälmann Memorial Center. Went round that and had a chat with the director of the Memorial Center. And of course, as most people here will know, Ernst Thälmann was the leader of the old German Communist Party, the KPD, which at the time was one of the biggest communist parties outside of the Soviet Union, a mass party. And it was destroyed by the Nazis. Basically, many of its members were killed by the Nazis, and Thälmann himself, just before the Soviet Red Army liberated Buchenwald, he was killed by the German Nazis. I think this was quite a deliberate act, them making sure that he would not be able to lead a united socialist Germany. I think if he had lived, he would have been a very significant figure. And interestingly, in KFA Germany, you actually have the great nephew of Wilhelm Pieck, the first president of the German Democratic Republic, Comrade Felix, who is also a noted artist. He's a protest artist in Germany. I think a sort of street artist, and he's also very much a political activist. But it's interesting that you got that link, that continuity with the past, and we went to see the sea at Hamburg. And then on the Friday, we had a long trip into former East Berlin, which took 4 hours by road. What was quite interesting is we passed through the old GDR border and saw the old GDR watchtowers. We were in East Berlin. We went to the DPRK embassy in East Berlin. He said East Berlin, well, it's really in the former East Berlin. We were well received by the DPRK ambassador to Germany. Then had a meeting at the DPRK embassy. Went off round former East Berlin to see a number of sites, such as the statue of Marx and Engels. That's still in East Berlin. They haven't been able to destroy it. And we also even paid a late night visit, late night tour to the Soviet war memorial in East Berlin, but unfortunately there was no lighting there, so we couldn't see very much. So I mean, it was quite a good visit. I returned to London on the Sunday, and I was very impressed by KFA Germany. KFA Germany have offers to undertake a number of key solidarity events, such as commemorating the 60th anniversary of the start of the work of Comrade Kim Jong-il, Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea. They will have an event in Berlin on the 19th. And if people, I don't expect people to travel to Berlin, but if you are able to travel to Berlin, particularly Andy and Michael, you would be both welcome at that event to speak, I think. And then on the 8th of July, there's the solemn commemoration of the passing away of the great leader, President Kim Il-sung, and that's also going to be marked by an event in Berlin. They're hoping to organise a picket of the Yankee embassy or a Yankee consulate in Germany. It ran into a bit of difficulty because of the UEFA Cup, but I'm waiting for the comrades in KFA Germany to update me on that. And also we are going to organise a picket of the Yankee embassy here in London, I think probably on the 22nd of June. I will have a discussion with one or two key comrades about that later today. Anyway, that's my report from the visit to Germany. I was, tried to shorten it as much as possible. If anyone wants to ask a few quick questions about it now, I'll take some questions and then we will move on to Comrade Allen's speech. Marie, yes, go ahead.
Question. You spoke about Comrade Felix. I understood nothing of what you said. Perhaps you could kindly repeat?
Right, the newly elected head of propaganda of KFA Germany, Comrade Felix, is actually the great nephew of Wilhelm Pieck, because I can never pronounce the German names. Wilhelm Pieck, who was the first president of the German Democratic Republic.
What year would that be?
Well, he was the president from, I think, 1949 to, I think, 1960. And our comrade in KFA Germany is a descendant.
And are there still comrades there who defend the worker state?
If I understand you correctly, you mean uphold the memory of the old German Democratic Republic?
Yes.
Yes, very much so.
And do they produce literature?
I think so. I can ask about it. Yeah, I can ask. Please remind me at the end of the meeting to ask. Are there any other questions about the Germany visit? Yes, yeah, go ahead, Marie.
So did you see the wall? What was the watchtowers that you saw? Was that the remnants of the
Well,
old wall?
we saw like sort of watchtowers on the way. You had this very long car journey for 4 hours. We saw that, and we saw a watchtower in Berlin, but we didn't see the wall. However, what we did do, we went in the Volkskammer restaurant, which is like a GDR themed restaurant where you got pictures up of Walter Ulbricht and Erich Honecker and sort of old GDR TV being played, and it's meant to be all GDR style food. So we saw that. I mean, I think there's a lot of nostalgia in some parts of Germany, the eastern part of Germany, for the GDR. You know, people wish it had never gone.
Can I continue?
Yeah, one more question, and then we ought to get on to Alan's lecture.
And are you intending to write anything now, looking back on the significance of the fall of that wall, of the destruction of that wall?
Well, it's a little bit out of my remit as KFA UK chairman, but I mean, definitely I could try and find time to write about it if you want.
I won't.
I mean, KFA Germany, I must send you their magazine. They've got an article about the wall written by Comrade Jeremy himself. I can send, because I've got your email address, I can send it to you.
It should be for everyone. This is a turning point. And what happens in Ukraine, NATO wanted to do the same.
Yes.
And it failed now. Now they can't do it anymore.
Yes.
But a lot of the left went along with this.
Well, we know, but I think if we got onto that subject, we will be here not only for the rest of the day, but also tomorrow and Monday. If we try to discuss that subject. And people must always remember we really here to support people's career and learn about people's career rather than perhaps get involved in what I call the wider context of issues. But yeah, I mean, I can write an article.
So sorry, just one more thing. The anniversary on the 19th.
Yes.
What is that?
It's the anniversary of Comrade Kim Jong-il starting work at the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea.
19th of which month?
June.
Yes.
Right, okay. Thank you for your questions. Well, whenever you're ready to start, Alan, we can start.
All right. My lecture subject, the topic of this lecture is Juche idea as a perfect and great builder of socialist society in the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Starting point of this lecture is correlation between human life and the features of social life. Start from the very important standpoint of this lecture, which is quotation from Karl Marx. It is not the consciousness of men that determines their being, but on the contrary, their social being that determines their consciousness. Social being with economical conditions, with human living conditions, created by external factor, is the determinant of consciousness. It is a very useful statement for this lecture because it gives us one of the main standpoints. So the level of being in matters to Juche basic values, independence, consciousness, creativity, is dependent on being. In this term, being of man is influenced by various external factors. It could be geographical, it could be location, climate, financial level of being, material level of an individual level of cultural traditions, and internal factors also playing a role. Internal factors such as degree of self-discipline, knowledge, life experience, etc. We have no opportunity to influence external factor, or we have very limited influence only. Contrary to the internal factors, and their level depends on us. Features of Juche idea like independence, consciousness, and creativity are being the subject of a research in this lecture, and they are not idealistic values, no idealistic terms, but they are definitions of social processes and states in relation to the masses of people and also relation to the individual of man. Those are neither idealistic beliefs, they are not religious ideals. These values are the result and specific state of existence of a social situation of the man, of the life situation, which is derivative of physiochemical process in a human being. These physiochemical processes in the minds of people are dependent on their existence, on their social being. So it proves marks on objective external and subjective internal factors. It also proves the materialistic character of Juche idea. In order to see the values of the Juche idea in social life, and this led to correlated to the Juche idea, one must first understand what is social life. Social life, as scientists explain, is the next to biological life, the basic domain of every human being. We come into the world among other people and we have interactions with others in the time of our life. Social life is the domain of the human being. Animals live in certain community, although there is certain hierarchy in it. There is no real and fully consciousness. Fully consciousness relationships between group members are just between the humanity, between the people. On the other hand, human social life presupposes the formation of a so-called social bond, social link with certain permanent relationships. Social life has impact on few conditions: biological, geographical, economical, and cultural. On the basis of social life, an important role is played by the environment as well as economic foundation with the various forms of organization that unite people to the social activities. For example, the simple material forms of being alive are flowers. Flowers also alive, but apart from the whether they have any awareness is the scientific question. Any small and limited level may they have, we don't know. They do not act consciously in their existence like humans. Animals have limited level of consciousness focused to fulfill their biological needs only and act according to instinct. However, in comparison to animals, the existence of life form as a flora and the plant world is the lower level than the next and higher ladder of the evolution of the life of nature in animals. Human with his mind is the original product of nature materials evolution, and mind functions with the original way of working out as the highest product of nature's evolution. Now we move to wider explanation in relation to the man as a social being. In order to explain by the graphic way how the three basic principles of the Juche idea are implicated to progress to man for his development in social life, in the standpoint, we should bring Maslow's pyramid of hierarchy of the human needs. Is the hierarchy of the Russian scientist Maslow from 1943 alive till 1954. In physiology shows us 5-tier model of human needs, which the essential point taken to this lecture is the argument that if lower human needs are fulfilled, man is start to aspire or fulfill his higher stage of needs. As we see, we have on the bottom physiological needs, safety needs, hunger, belongingness and love needs, esteem needs, and on the top of this pyramid is self-actualization. We see that if man is to have the lower stage needs fulfilled, he starts to achieve a higher level of his consciousness about being and aspired to higher level of existence, characterized by progress in creativity. Whether man is hungry and thirsty and without providing place to the life, place to the sleep, or clothes, and other basic necessities, we think about other needs of the higher order, such as culture, books, philosophical discussion. Of course, the man is not thinking about higher things if he's not fulfilled the bottom of his needs. So now I'm going to make similar to Maslow's statement as the principle to this lecture to show graphically the above statements of this lecture. Maslow done with this hierarchy of needs shows of the graphic structure of this pyramid as we see. I'm going to put upside down this pyramid and we can see the scheme of emancipation man in the participation for social life in terms to the factors which are followed in the Juche idea. Maslow's hierarchy of needs and Marx's quotation, it is not consciousness of man that determines their being, but on the contrary, the social being that determines their consciousness. The starting point to understand correlation between features of Juche idea as features of the social life and man as a social being and also being at all. Why is like that? The correlation are the relationships between the standard of living and features of human existence, along with the degree of satisfaction of his basic needs as previous, Maslow lists them on the top, or sorry, of the bottom of the pyramid, and the degree of the development of social features discovered in the Juche philosophy, they all relationships of mutual influence. Maslow foresaw intellectual needs, but Maslow did not assign them to social life, which begins when the basic needs of the lower level from the Maslow hierarchy described as a physiological needs, safety needs, belongingness, esteem with self-actualization are the limit, but they are start to be process of independence of the man as a social being in social life. We can notice that rotated pyramid as a graphic presentation is a cone. The rotated pyramid is the inner three spheres of independence, consciousness, and creativity opens wider and enlarges this area of spheres in each one. This opening is a graphic symbol of the development of the social life of the man in correlation alike to the individual person and also relation to popular masses as a whole society, but of course on different scales. The last in the first field, independence, as it is introduction to the liberation of social life in meeting basic needs, and then through the growing level, wider inner thread of the cone of consciousness developing in the process of reaching the highest stage of creativity. That one is the highest and most open inner field of the cone. Arrow connection individual areas of the stages of social life progress as independence, consciousness, and creativity means development, dialectical process of improving the social being of a man. So, first, independence. Man who is fully independent of objective conditions of the world, material conditions, can start to aspire to higher needs. Independence gives the man opportunity to grow his consciousness about himself and the world around him. Only if all 5 key human needs, which been described before in Maslow's pyramid, which been expressed by Maslow of his hierarchy, are realized, whether in which stage is different subject to research, but that's different question. Man starts progress in processing his social life to the next stage, which is consciousness. To be more consciousness is grow his self-awareness to the world he is alive and all things around him. Secondly, consciousness as a growing process from independent life. When the first physiological, biological needs are completely fulfilled, it makes man to the higher stage of being alive. And from simple existential being to the first stages of the social being, it is as grows consciousness and fulfilled to lower needs of man life, he starts to aspire for process of create his life to be better, to transform the world to his needs in order to his life. Thirdly, creativity is the last stage of the social being progress. In this stage, man can start participate to shape his destiny and also be active to the social life because he is fully aware of his life in order not only to fulfill or stay to remain a useless thinker and creator of theories of views, but as a practical participant to transform the world in a realistic way, in the way to realize his happiness and to bring benefits for better life. The 3 pages of Juche idea, such as independence, consciousness, and creativity, they are stages of development of social life, complement each other, and result from one another in subsequent stages of development at the individual and also collective level. It determines our objective conditions in which society and individual human beings exist and influenced by the external objective factors. The level of social life could be very high in a country like DPRK, as we see why is like that later on, or also could be minimal value or not exist in society whatsoever. There is no contradictions to the man features who is social being from the time he is born. In this dependence of this level of social life of individual, each person depends on other factors. But the man is the main factor. These factors are just not only as described generally conditions, geographical, cultural, economical. These factors also specified conditions are to be included in the characteristic of the human being as a social being, which just the Juche idea philosophy stressed out and also guided us. The 3 basic principles of Juche idea are the main values of this phenomenal pro-human philosophy and the features of the life of a social being. These are independence, consciousness, creativity. The social life and its level and intensity is expressed in the exposition to the philosophical principles of Juche in individual and collective life. In this aspect, requires every member of society to be aware of its creative power, be aware of his creative power and independence as follow to the leader Kim Jong-il said. Proceeding from the philosophical principle that man occupies the position of master in the world and plays the decisive role in advancing the world and in shaping his own destiny. The Juche idea demands that man should always be regarded as the central factor, that everything should be approached from the independent point of view, and that all activities should be creative so as to contribute to enhancing the position and role of man. Does it mean as a man in capitalist society has no social life? No, it does not mean like that. There is still a level of social life and participation for social activities, but it is limited. This limitation arises from the exploitative nature of the economic system, which is capitalist system, by operating not for the satisfaction of human needs as the main goal, but for profit, creates barriers, creates limitation to the development of the social life of the individual and also society as a whole. In society with socialist system, like the example is DPRK, what we see in that there is positive correlation. The correlation between the rising standard of the living of society and its growing prosperity and the positive development of social features that Juche idea lists as an independence, creativity, and consciousness. Deriving from Marx's basic statement that social being that determines their consciousness and increase in the quality of the life in area of full satisfaction of basic life needs translates into the growth and development of intellectual needs, increase on the social characteristic of human existence and higher order needs. This only possible is in a socialist system which is focused on man and his development, where being is understood as the existence of human being in the objective external conditions of a given political system and the economy and culture associated with it. Being is the process of its positive development and ensuring all conditions for this development in objective conditions, which is the result in the development of social features that discovers the philosophy of Juche, which are expressed in the three features: independence, creativity, and consciousness. In societies with a liberal system in capitalist countries, in capitalist model of economy, there is negative correlation. The deterioration of living conditions for society also has negative impact on the society's awareness of existence. And there is regression. There is very small development of social features discovered by the philosophy of Juche. Because basic human needs, which are on the bottom of Maslow's pyramid, as we remember from the first graphic, for being are met insufficiently or inadequately. Higher order needs, such as intellectual ones, to be satisfied must be at the expense of satisfying lower order needs. The dilemma of the spending of small amounts of money for food, for drink, for rent, for taxes, for clothes, for normal conditions to live, is the participation the concert or other things what we want to spend, it means we are still in the one circle. We cannot go from our being developed to higher stage of our consciousness. By consciousness to creative. Question: how is the Juche idea working as a perfect binder of socialist society of the DPRK? Let's give a question. Why and how the Juche idea find perfect expression in this effective works and efficiency in building socialist state as is Democratic People's Republic of Korea? Already from the beginnings of the Juche philosophy, during the anti-Japanese liberation struggle led by Comrade Kim Il-sung, from the time of the announcement of the first principles of Juche and the meeting in Kowloon in 1930, from the development of Juche philosophy, in the heat of the guerrilla struggle, the three factors and three components of Juche philosophy, independence, consciousness, creativity, the nature of which I described earlier, they are developed in Korean society under the influence of objective conditions, which was the struggle for liberation from the Japanese occupation. Every struggle begins with the sense of independence and opposition to oppressions, opposition to exploitation. The struggle in which people defend themselves against oppression and exploitation by the occupiers grows out of independence. The struggle in 1910 until 1945, where Korean society has to strive for social justice, makes them independent. It is fight for realizing one's own potential and is the need for independent self-development, which builds up and develops class consciousness, which then creates and develops as a next stage creativity. After the war and liberation from Japanese occupation, during the formation of the foundation of the new DPRK state, building the foundation of socialism in these years, 1953 until 1970, the power of the Juche philosophy, its relationship in society, moved towards the growth of self-consciousness and creativity, which was expressed in the discipline and common to the work of the entire society, in building the foundation of socialist society with its economy, culture, and science. In the Juche philosophy, it was the Korean society depending on the objective conditions that dominate given historical period. And this is influence of the social existence of Korean society, which was reflected in greater or less emanation. It depends which period of the time, being influence of the factors of the Juche philosophy. So during the liberation struggle, during the Japanese occupation 1910 till 1945, the factor of independence combined with the growing class and national consciousness initiated an independent uprising of society in the organization and therefore creativity of resistance forces in the form of a partisan army, Korean People Army, which later gave rise to the establishment of Korean People's Army. The first was Korean Revolutionary People's Army. All three factors of the Juche philosophy, independence, consciousness, and creativity, has always worked together. So to speak, interpenetrating each other feature, every each. They always took part from the first factor, which is independence, through to the next stage, as is consciousness, and finish on the creativity. Doesn't mean they work separate. They always work together, but always start from independence. Then we can see how wonderful the three factors complement each other and depend also to each other. DPRK society maintains high level of social life at the level of smaller communities, local small communities, and also in social life throughout all the country. It is because Juche philosophy sets the basic directions for social life in order to guide the people's activities. The basic directions are basic values, fundamental principles as explained before. Why is there a high level? Why in DPRK is high level of this participation of society in social life? In DPRK, ours to study is the system of social life that exists on a balanced schedule of daily life. That schedule is 8 hours of work, 8 hours to rest, and 8 hours to study. It gives to people proper balance in the life, the balance between work and free time is also enriched for the third aspect of life, which is time to study, time to learn, time to self-development. As Comrade Kim Il-sung said, our party is now demanding that system of working 8 hours, studying 8 hours, and resting 8 hours be established even for the workers. Intellectuals should naturally study harder. In capitalist countries, if we look into most of the working class daily life, the balance doesn't exist. The time of daily life is dominated mostly by work, by working hours to get enough money in order to provide as much as possible to fulfill the basic needs. Sometimes not so even. The basic needs, like shows on the Maslow hierarchy of human needs, on the bottom of the pyramid. The more evaluated factors of life as human and social being cannot be expressed, and they are suppressed, unlimited. This doesn't mean, of course, that man does not have these characteristics. They still exist, but cannot develop and grow in the proper, full way. In the liberated way, it cannot exist because lower stage needs like biological, physiological, are the main determinant of their life. These activities like work to earn money and other strictest physiological and simple are focused in their life to fulfill these lower stage needs. It is to satisfaction lower stage needs dominate man everyday life of a person who like to be more as a social being. General Secretary Kim Jong-un said, creativity is attribute of humans, the social being who transforms the world and shapes their destiny for possible and consciously. We can assume that the higher stage of the level of achievement of particular stage of development, which are precise the basic features of Juche, which are independence, consciousness, and creativity, they are expressed on the higher degree of man participation in social life. The independence stays as a first and determines each other. Each lower level determines the development of the next and is also interrelated to each other. The start is always to independence, then going through the growth to the consciousness to bring as a result on the top creativity. So we can say the higher level of satisfaction of the lower human needs explained by Maslow and which are assigned to the independence factor, the higher is the growth on the self-awareness in consciousness factor and also the capacity of achieving a higher level of creativity factor is running mutually with other two factors, running through the man daily in order to social life activities, transforms and changes the world and adapts it to his needs. As Juche idea is the goal. Juche idea giving us opportunity to transform the world. Juche philosophy is perfect Bible of society and a reliable guide for social life. This is because it's based on scientific knowledge of human nature. It's based on the futures of man that constitute his potential for development towards changing the world according to his needs, and it fully not only explains, but also takes into account his features, natural features of man, and natural possibilities. Now we move to the last part of my lecture. How the People's Korea society is implementing values in the practical way to the daily life. People's Korea, in applying the Juche in practice to society, see the social lives of the popular masses as important. The popular masses are the subject for develops of the factors of the progress to processing social life. Leader Kim Jong-il said, the activities of the popular masses for independent life assume creative character. Man feels his vital needs through creative activity. So people in DPRK are aware of their historical mission to this country, and they are play a decisive role in creating man as a central outlook to their life collectively and also individually. They feel vital needs by being creatively active in social and economic country life. Popular masses are united by individual needs, and aspiration play decisive role in their social life. They are realizing how the values of the Juche philosophy can work in every day. The main organization to organize social life among the masses in the People's Korea is, of course, the political party, Workers' Party of Korea. Juche philosophy that puts man in the center of attention and timeless values shaping their destiny and guides them on their road to achieve happiness and also national prosperity for the country and for the people. Is the DPRK society fully independent? Is DPRK society fully conscious? Is fully creative? In my opinion, it is. It is because fully satisfying the basic human needs, not only physiological, but also social, and therefore of a higher order, they are in the process to never-ending development of themselves individually and as an organization, as a communities in the entire society. Therefore, the three basic determinants of social life, which are also the basic principles of philosophy, Juche philosophy, they are independence, consciousness, and creativity. Only in conditions under socialist state system as in the DPRK, can fully develop and shape man as a liberated social being in the process of transforming the world for his needs. How does Juche philosophy manifest itself and working? How is working in the social life of man? It is by developing the main factors of higher level as independence, consciousness, and creativity in the process of developing socialist economy and man-centered policy, where man is the center of everything and everything all is for man. What we can discover and learn from the philosophy of Juche become active participants in social life, as the citizens of the People's Korea do in daily life. We can constantly aspire and develop our consciousness and creativity according to the indication of Juche, even if the situation when living in a capitalist socio-economic system that limits our independence, we cannot fully satisfy the needs of the lower order, or we have a problem with that. The scientific question is, taking into account the sum of the individual volume of the level of independence, consciousness, and creativity in the DPRK, the sum taken from each human being's existing popular masses, the result is impressive, as we see in the high level of the activity of the Society of People's Republic of Korea. Higher level of activity in social, in political, in economical, and also cultural life. Individual level of man achievement of expression with respect to the independence, consciousness, and creativity may be different. Maybe will be level which lower, which higher, but under conditions of socialist society is always exceed than the capitalist countries for reasons that explained previous. Because the basic needs of every man are fully fulfilled, man can be consciously creative way to self-development of him and be active in social life. However, it should be remembered that these factors like consciousness, independence, creativity are not measurable values. This is only terms from social life. They can be estimated on the basis, for example, of the amount and effectiveness of people's participation in socio-political organization. It can be measured in the improvement and development of social and cultural life, which is confined by a higher level development of creativity, which is on the top of man development. So, in conclusion, we can say, if a man is more independent and liberated, aware of himself, and when he's aware of the world in which he lives, and if he is aware of his central and master position to transform his world to his needs, that more he is social being. And more Juche values can shape the character and personality of man in the pursuit of the transforming the world and himself for the better life in every aspect, material, spiritual, and each other. Also, we can say the application of the values of Juche philosophy in personal life in correlation with others, brings benefits, not only to the individual, but it also brings benefits to all society as a whole. It has impact to better and more efficiently change the world that serves the man better to his needs and benefits, to shape the world in order to man's aspiration. It is for the good development of society, of the good development for whole masses, popular masses, which are consist from individual members who are fully consciousness, independent, and creative as they live with compliance with the Juche idea, and also massive benefit for the collective development society as a whole. The revolutionary Juche philosophy and interactions of Juche philosophy, interactions, correlations with the popular masses between on the basic fundamental principles of the Juche philosophy like independence, consciousness, and creativity explains their progress and also brings to understanding wider view of the aspect of what the Juche idea in the DPRK society and bringing to us the basic factors, understanding the basic factors that determine the process as objective conditions. These objective conditions are constantly improving to the benefit of people, to the benefit of the entire society, which also has repercussions in the increasingly full participation of the entire Korean society in social life and the full development of social features of Juche philosophy. Such achievements of Juche-style socialism as free healthcare system, no taxes, free housing, and the same prices by decades. All of these are reflections of the successive social development in its features and mutual correlation in the social life of Korean society, which are disciplined and diligently follows to the Juche path. My lecture confines that the revolutionary philosophy of the Juche is the philosophy to explain social processes in popular masses under dialectical and universal laws, as are the basis to the Marxist-Leninist ideology too. It is because the standpoint is Karl Marx quotation. It also confirms that Juche philosophy explains the laws of social development, the laws of social life that are followed by the masses of the people, not only the DPRK, but also in every society, even in capitalist society as well. Just as Marxist Leninism is guided by, applied by historical materialism, the dialectic of history to the processes of development of societies in individual stages of development, the same objective and dialectical laws of nature determine the development of social life and expresses but different forms, but they are explained by Juche idea. They are explained in three factors: independence, consciousness, and creativity. Study Juche idea. It costs you nothing, but pay plenty. In this world of member of International Institute of Juche idea, we will finish that lecture. This is like positive, optimistic punchline. And this is end of my lecture. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Alan, for that very comprehensive and detailed lecture. I don't know if there's any questions from the audience in the room, and then I will just check the live chats if there's any questions from that, and then we will
There is one
conclude.
question.
Yeah, well, go ahead, please, Sam.
Yeah, one in the official figures, 1 in 3 suffer from a serious mental disorder. And Anglo-Saxon countries, that is most part of Germany, Britain, and other English-speaking countries, by virtue of the fact social life in these countries is very, either doesn't exist or is very limited when you compare it to other Latin countries. As far as I'm concerned, these are the official figures. The real figure is probably 1 in 2. And as far as I'm concerned, everyone is mentally disordered. There is a serious epidemic going on, which was predicted by Marx, the alienation of man. I mean, you can see it in this country, in Britain. People prefer to befriend dogs than they're human beings. In other English-speaking countries, their whole party is to feed dogs, expensive, decadent party to feed their dogs, not to feed their fellow human down the street.
Yes. I think it confirms the that's what I said in lecture. If man has problem to fulfill the basic needs in the situation like any disaster, natural or any,
to put it in a religious language, they should love their dogs but hate their neighbors. Because that's the bottom line. And as for independence is becoming more and more.
That proves that what was in the lecture. So it
means I'm just one question. It's becoming more and more
in
a serious issue, independent, because what's happening, you can't, from past experience, you can't rely on some other countries have given Marxism and the working class a bad name. So simply, you can depend on them now, but you're never sure how it's going to be tomorrow.
Right. Yes. So thank you for your comments, Marie. Please go ahead.
I think this is a subject not normally tackled by anyone. So, all praise to you, Alan, for having tried this. I think what you spoke about is from the point of view of a country which comes from a continent that was like Latin America, Asia, and Africa was under the push of Yankee and world imperialism. And so all the notions that you mentioned of sovereignty, independence, liberation, they make sense in a different way from the way they do in the metropolitan countries. So it is an interesting debate. I think the question of the social being that you're talking about, this social being, are you going, friend?
I'm far away.
And that the social being is determines the consciousness. I agree with this. I think that needs much more collective discussion. But the social being in a country which is dominated by imperialism is the consciousness of that social being is going to be much more crippled by the actual domination of imperialism than in a place where there is an appearance of the freedom to express oneself. So just to cut a long story short, I think that this social being needs, I wouldn't put it in terms of mastering the world, but making a unification with nature and with the earth and with the universe in a way which is not simply so that it satisfies the human being, but that it satisfies the need to create. And creativity is not just coming from self-fulfillment, but from the desire to be in harmony with all the rest of the other beings, including the animals and the vegetables and the plants and the earth and the universe. And so I think this needs revision, in my view, because it was not put in the context of the fact that North Korea, had to accomplish all this intellectual work in conditions of incredible suppression to the point of being threatened with nuclear weapons by the Americans. It's a little bit abstract, therefore I propose that this study be put back in a more concrete framework, a little bit perhaps less detailed and more adjusted to the actual dialectical process which takes place now, not just a few years ago, but now, when I just finished now, when high finance capital is a global enemy. It's no longer just the old industrial capitalism or Britain or the United States. But the regime, the capitalist regime, which imposes itself on the social being of every part of the world. And there is no liberation possible without interdependence, not independence, but interdependence between the countries. And this can only be accomplished by the proletariat or the working class. And what you have described, Alan, is the optimism and the hope of the human being, but this is going to be accomplished in practice by the proletariat and by the need for an international, to go back to an international, which in the end will have to be communist whenever that will happen. So I think it's very interesting what you said, and I propose that it be put back in context and made more simple.
Right, well, thank you for your comments, Marie. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you want to respond to it, Alan.
Well, the thing is, in DPRK, the proletarization of society is very high. It means proletariat take a part in every aspect of the life, and it gives to this country fully works of the three factors of Juche idea. That's for first, because if the people of proletariat, of each individual person has fulfilled the basic things, start to be fully independent. It means it's not worried about tomorrow like in capitalist country. Wherefore I find the money to pay tax, wherefore again problems, financial problems, again tax, again increasing living whatsoever, free healthcare, free renting. So that man can be more open his mind to self-development to other stages, which is consciousness and creativity. Consciousness in these terms doesn't mean consciousness as every human being, because every human being has consciousness. In this term, consciousness means another term, another stage of self-development from independent to by consciousness to creativity. It means the mind of the human is fully open for intellectual values and higher values than not only to fulfill the basic needs. So follow to this society in DPRK, there people are not worried about tomorrow because they have provide free healthcare, free renting house, free houses, sorry, the same prices, they have food, they have fully what they need for fulfill the basic needs. And they have also system which are giving them time to self-development, 8 hours to work, 8 hours to rest, and 8 hours to study. And all of this giving them opportunity, to create the basic to create the opportunities to self-development which are not exist to capitalist country. I don't know if that is the answer, which is you are happy with that.
Right. Well, thank you, Alan, for that.
That's the difference between capitalist societies and DPRK.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Alan. I mean, I'd just say make a short response to Marie's question and or comment, and then I'm going to check the live chats if there's anything I need to respond to there, and then we're going to close the formal part of the meeting in the live chat. Of course, people can discuss things informally, and I've got a few announcements to make after I've answered the questions to the live chat. I mean, first of all, I would say Alan's lecture was quite good, very detailed and very comprehensive. I don't think there is any need to revise it or set it back or anything like that. And you've got to understand that humans are the master, and we, under socialism and communism, we will achieve mastery over nature. This is a fact. And this is not an abstract concept. It's actually based on very scientific understanding, because humans are actually the most highly developed form of matter.
Product of nature.
We have independence, we have consciousness and creativity. We don't say that these are automatic, that people are actually born with these. These are social attributes that come about only through society. They cannot exist without human society. I think that is an important fact to realise. And the question of independence is sort of a big mistake, sort of counterposing sort of independence against internationalism. And President Kim Il-sung always emphasised that the best contribution you can make to the world revolution is to actually carry out the revolution successfully in your own country. And that's what the DPRK have done. That's what the Juche idea has done, because it becomes an abstraction when people talk about the world revolution, the internationalism, but actually do nothing to carry out the revolution in their own country. And the DPRK, frankly, might annoy some for me to say this, but has actually punched above its weight in giving internationalist assistance to other countries. It sent Air Force pilots to Egypt in 1973 to fight against the hated Israeli Zionists, the enemy of all humanity. It sent the KPA pilots. It sent KPA pilots to Vietnam to fight alongside the Vietnamese people. In 1962, when some big power chauvinists and revisionists got scared by President Kennedy and pulled the missiles out of Cuba, the DPRK embassy staff in Cuba armed themselves, ready to fight alongside the Cuban people. The DPRK gave more aid per capita to the People's Revolutionary Government of Maurice Bishop in Grenada in the 1980s. So, it's done all these things despite being under intense sanctions by the US imperialists. So, I mean, it has punched against its, punched above its weight. And yeah, I mean, you can combine independence with internationalism. Anyway, unless are there any more further questions from people here in this room?
I think it's very useful statement to say, man, if fully man by grow from fully independent by consciousness to be creative. It means if you're fully independent, you are fully conscious about the world around, you can start to create, to transform the world for your needs.
Yeah.
It's giving you understanding how the three factors of Juche works together. However, it's very interesting, like the Korean history, in my opinion, the three features working each other bit more, bit less. For example, the anti-Japanese struggle, independence been more working more, been more relative to this historical period than consciousness. In the time when Korea achieved liberation and we start to build up socialist system, the consciousness and creative been more active, been more visible in Korean society because they were fully independent, fully liberated. They can focus now to be more creative and then consciously transform the world, build up socialist system. So three of the features working together, but in my opinion, they work in each period of history of Korean, bit more, bit less, it depends which the time was.
Right, thank you very much, Alan. Okay, on Andy, yes.
Yeah, just very briefly on this point, because it's independence from whom? As Dermot said, the DPRK practiced what, on one hand, you could call it was actually solidarity from the very beginning of the establishment of the Republic. Zimbabwe, all the countries you mentioned, it gave help. But the independence starts with, first of all, establishing the people's government in the first place. Then the question of internationalism or proletarian solidarity, call it what you will, is there's several pillars to the philosophy of Juche, which independence is just one of them. But it's independence from who? And when the Korean people started their struggle, it was the struggle against Japan, and then it was the struggle against the United States, and now the primary struggle is reunification. That is the independence.
Not now, Andy. They changed.
Oh, I know. That's a different question. But that's a different question. But nevertheless, it's only part of the issue. So it's not. I would disagree with what Maui said. It's not one against the other. Kim Il-sung was a great internationalist. Kim Jong-il followed exactly in the footsteps of Kim Il-sung and the current government. I think the question is, or the key issue, sorry, I'm going too long, is that DPRK of the people's democracies was the only one in which the majority of the population were workers rather than peasants.
Right. Yes.
And that's why the development of Juche reflected. But the final thing is that in Western Europe, or indeed in all of Europe, they only looked at the economic aspect, in my opinion, the economic aspects of Marx and Engels and how to apply that, just as the Marxist social democrats in Germany looked at the question of nationalization, so on and so forth, but they ignored, in my opinion, the role of the individual. And I think Juche begins, I know that the Juche social scientists will say it actually begins with ancient Greece, and it may well have done, and with Thomas More. But it's a point Engels and Marx actually recognised, as Alan has pointed out. It's not, but it's often forgotten.
Yes.
And was it Kim? You said,
Yeah, that's correct. Yes.
Juche, the centre.
The center is money.
Yeah.
Karl Marx said that's the external factor, economical values, and economical conditions influence man to his consciousness. So it proves Marx actually. Juche idea is correlative with Marxism.
Yes. Well, thank you, Andy. Anyway, I must check. Let's check the live chat, see if there's any people, and then I'm going to conclude the meeting. But I must check this live chats. Well, no, that's great. We can hear. Great. No, there's no questions to answer. Hello. Just say hello to comrades from KFA Germany.
Okay, so we can take some more questions.
Hello. Well, I mean, we're running out of time. So what I'm going to do is say goodbye to everybody on the live chat. Goodbye on the live chat, because we're going to close now, and then we conclude, make a few announcements, and then we have a barbecue late, afterwards. We will need to sort of clear up here, but we've got a few things to do before that. So anyway, goodbye, comrades on the live chat, and sort of close the live chat now. We're going. Bye.